Good morning. Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you for having me here today. And as I'm talking, I'd like for you to think about questions or things that you have to add to this conversation, because as I look around this room, I know that I have a lot more to learn from you than I have to share with you today. There's a lot of smart people in this room, and as you go around the world and as you meet people, there's a lot of different ideas of how we can make things even better, how we can make women who code even better, how we can grow and change this industry, and we want to hear those ideas. So, as she said, my name's Alaina. I'm the CEO of Women Who Code. And I'll just tell you a little bit about myself, because I actually started off my career in Europe. I was working for Puma on the product side of things. And when I was there, I got my first job, and I would stay late every night, and I'd go over to other departments, and I'd say, hey, how can I help you? Because my goal was to find that next step. And so I ended up getting promoted into a position pretty quickly where I was fairly junior myself in my career, and I had deliverables from people much more senior to me. So I worked directly with the CFO, the CEO of the company, the head of store development, the head of interactive, and I had to get these people to give me deliverables, and I sometimes failed at that, but it was a learning experience, and it's a learning experience that I've carried into what I'm doing today with Women Who Code. Because when you're running a volunteer organization, you can't say, you have to do this. You have to do it now. Have this done by 3 o'clock. You have to make sure that people understand why it's important and believe in that and doing that. Because just like when you're working and you're junior to someone else, you can't tell them what they have to do. And so this was part of my experience that I took forward into the career that I have today. So Women Who Code is a nonprofit organization, and we're dedicated to seeing women excel in technology careers. This is just one piece of the pipeline. And when Women Who Code first got started as a community group, we were this group of women hanging out together in the Bay Area, and we said, hey, this is great. This is so cool. We're getting to spend time together, other women who are interested in technology, we're coding, we're building projects. And about a year later, we said, other women around the world deserve to have this too. And something amazing happened is the media started talking about teaching girls to code and teaching women to code. And this was an amazing conversation because it was building momentum. But one of the things that was already an issue for women in the tech industry was that they were being viewed as more junior than they actually were. And this beautiful conversation in the media, without elevating the needs of the woman in industry, was a threat to that pipeline. And so while we were this group where we were like, this is amazing, we said, okay, we need to start talking to people. We need to start talking to companies because this can be better, and we have some ideas for how that can happen. And if we're only talking about the first and the second step in the pipeline, that third step is going to not only be neglected, it's going to be further damaged. So our vision is a world where women are representative as technical founders, as CEOs, as venture capitalists. And we're doing all of that as a pathway through software engineering. And this is really, really important, especially here in Italy, because the opportunity is even bigger. In doing research for this talk, I saw that women are representing 9% of technical roles here. And so there's a loud and resounding message from the tech industry, women, we need you. And this is because software engineering roles are growing. They're growing really fast. These are great jobs. These jobs pay well. There's high demand. There's flexibility, job security. They're great jobs. And the market is not prepared to fill the roles that are here in Italy, the roles that are in Europe, the roles that are in the United States and the broader world. There's hundreds of thousands of jobs available right now, and that gap is growing. And so seeing that opportunity of women not being a minority and are being underrepresented in technical roles. And this is even more important as every industry becomes a technology industry. As Mark Andreessen says, software is eating the world. And whether you're interested in transportation, media, fashion, healthcare, finance, hospitality, all of these industries are becoming technology industries. And that means the leaders of those companies are more and more often going to have technical backgrounds because you will be making technical decisions for your organization. And we see an even bigger gap there at the top for women, which means we need to make sure that women are represented in technical roles so that they can also be represented in leadership roles. And what's happening in the tech industry is that mid-career woman is leaving her career, and she's leaving at a higher rate than she's leaving other roles. And that shouldn't be the case because of that flexibility and that job security. The tech industry is a better place. And it's also important to the industry because if you're looking at large companies, Fortune 500 companies, they make more money when women are representative or are represented in leadership. And when you look at small startups, First Round Capital did a 10-year analysis over investments that it had done. And when they had just one female founder on that technical team, they had a 63% higher return. So whether it's big or it's small, it's fiscally responsible to have that diverse team. And so this is really where Women Who Code comes from. We see it as an opportunity, and we work hard to help women get the technical, the leadership experience, and build the networks they need to both stay in their careers and become more successful. We've gone around the world, so we started off as a small community group in the Bay Area. And we said, hey, women around the world deserve to have this too. And I'm very excited to announce today that on Saturday we'll be launching in Barcelona. We've grown to over 80,000 members in 60 cities and 20 countries. And when we asked our members, hey, are you having a positive career impact as a result of being a member of Women Who Code? 80% wrote back and said yes. And when we asked them if they'd refer Women Who Code to a friend, 97% said yes. So if you have a friend, you might want to recommend to them to join Women Who Code, womenwhocode.com. It's pretty easy to join. So we're doing a lot. And we wouldn't be able to do any of this, or most of it, without the amazing leadership community that we have. And what we do is, as we expand to new cities, people step up to be leaders in the organization. So we have over 150 contracted directors. These are volunteer positions, women around the world. And what we see happen is that when you just shift to being a leader, when you just say, okay, I'm willing to step up, I'm willing to stand in the front of the room. I actually had a leader tell me once that she's a leader today, and the first time she ever did it, that she stepped up, Actually, the leader just couldn't make it that day. And she'd been attending pretty regularly. And so she said, oh, she's not here. I guess I could stand up at the front of the room, welcome everyone, tell them what we're doing tonight, kick things off, introduce the host. And she said, by the end of that evening, people were walking up to her and treating her like she was the leader. And she said, it just took stepping up. And so what we see happen for the women who step into these leadership roles with Women Who Code is they get invited to give talks. They get called into companies as thought leaders. They get promoted. They get invited onto advisory boards. They get press mentions and receive awards. And this really starts to happen within about a year. One of our directors from Mexico City said to me earlier this year that her salary had increased 200% since becoming a Women Who Code leader. And that was in under 1 year. And one of my favorite stories is of our leader in Atlanta who, as she got started, she had a master's degree in CS, like badass engineer. All of your companies want to hire her. She's awesome. But she was incredibly shy. And at her first event, which the room was much, much smaller than this, she had trouble standing up and saying, my name's Erica, feel free to ask me questions, and sit down as quickly as possible. And she stood at the front of that room, and within 1 year, under 1 year, she was invited. She didn't even apply. She was invited to give a talk. And she gave a talk to a standing room only crowd at a conference. So this woman who could barely say her name in public while standing up in front of a very intimate community could speak to all of you and shift to being a role model for those other women out there to know that they could do it as well. And this is the thing that I'm most proud of, but it's just one of the things that we're doing, because we're producing an average of 1,500 free technical events every year. That's like 4 per day. And these are in a variety of different technical languages, hack nights, data science, and it's also a place to get together. And you can imagine if you are on a software engineering team of 30 and there's 1, maybe 2 women on the team, it puts you in a place to remind you, yes, I do belong. And it helps you to overcome, small things, unconscious biases. You can say, oh yeah, that happened to me too. It's not me, it's the system. We also have a weekly publication that we call the Code Review. And in this, first we work to highlight the successes of women in the tech industry. And we do this because there are, in fact, already a lot of really, really talented women in the tech industry. And we want to make sure that we're helping them to raise their profile. And it's not comfortable, because it's a little bit more uncomfortable for women to talk about their career successes, and it's a little bit more uncomfortable for society to hear us do it. And so by creating a culture around doing it, we hope to shift a little bit. And I realized how important this was when I was talking to a director of engineering at a large tech company, and she said, that statement is true, Alaina. I'm now senior director of engineering, and I've been embarrassed to update my LinkedIn profile, embarrassed to share her career success. And when she doesn't do that, you don't know to ask her to be an advisor for your company. I don't know to ask her to come and give a talk. And if women are doing this every step of the way, then we and society can help us to move forward a little bit faster. So we also try to provide significant value to our community every week. We've given away already over 600,000 euro in coding scholarships. So if you know someone, and sometimes these are online, are coding schools popular here in Milan yet? Is that something where you can go for like a 3-month or 6-month period where you're learning a particular programming language? Does that exist here? Maybe someone could raise their hand if they've heard of this. Okay, so yeah, it's some one-rays. And then conference tickets, because we want to encourage women to engage in the broader tech community as well. So nearly 300,000 euro in conference tickets. And then Women Who Code is also working directly with companies. We want to help companies to be an even better place for, of course, their entire team and for diverse teams. So what are the opportunities for you? How many of you are working in a technical role at a startup, like a small startup? What about a big tech company? Big tech companies, are we? Okay, so this is for you. These are the things that you can bring back into your company. We want to make it even better. Can work on the pipeline. Something really hard would be to say, hey, we're going to set a quota around 4 technical roles. We are going to interview X percentage of women. In Italy, where it's closer to 10% women in technical roles, 10% might be the minimum that you want to set. No company is going to hire the person that is not the best person for the job, but make sure that you're interviewing. And so how do you do that? Make sure your pipeline's diverse. You can post your job in a place that's going to attract diversity or female software engineers. Women Who Code has a job board. You can post your jobs there. Also, if you're having an event, like a recruiting event at your company, even if it's a social event, encourage people to bring or allow people to bring a +1. One thing that I noticed a long time ago is that when we were having tech events, about 9 times out of 10 women would request a +1, and about 1 time out of 10 men would request a +1. And if you said no, the women wouldn't come. And so for some reason, they need an ally. They want to bring someone from their community, a friend. And so if you can allow that, then it'll make it even more comfortable or more likely that women will attend your event. And for attracting people to a particular job, don't list extra requirements. Women are applying for jobs where they have 7 or above out of 10 of the qualifications, whereas men will apply for the jobs where they have about 4 out of 10 of the requirements. So if you're looking for someone with 4 years of experience in Java, don't say 4 years of experience, because a woman with 3.5 years might not apply, whereas the man with 2 years might apply. So one of the things that we did with our job board was limit the number of characters that you could talk about the description. And that was really to discourage any extra things. So ask yourself, hey, is there any scenario where we would hire someone without this qualification? And leave that one out. And words matter. Of course, language is going to be very different here. So like the requirements that you're putting out there, don't know the Italian equivalent, but women don't identify as being rock stars or the best. They identify with their potential and their ability to grow. So be thoughtful about your words. And then when you're interviewing, ask gender-neutral questions. I've had women talk about being asked about, in a technical interview, something related to a game that they had never played before. And the interviewer was like, oh, well, it's really easy. Let me tell you how to play this game. And then this person was having to go through a process of saying, oh my goodness, do I understand this game? And had an extra layer of stress and something to overcome in her technical interview. And then train your interviewers on unconscious biases. How are women going to represent themselves and how are you going to perceive them? And then in managing, assign advocates inside of companies. When someone from a diverse background or woman joins your team, let the team know that it's part of their success for the entire team to succeed. And find someone outside of the team that's at least one step, one level above the person, who can be an ally, who can help them navigate internal politics, who can check in and say, hey, it's time for you to be thinking about asking for a promotion. Hey, this is who you should be talking to about this. And help them navigate the corporate structure. A lot of people would call that a mentor. Also, one thing that I think is really important, specifically in technical roles, is distribution of projects. If the same people always get the awesome, high-profile projects, those projects that generate revenue or are external that really get talked about versus the projects that are maybe rewriting something or back of house or internal or just a really project that's not going to be successful in some way, and it's always the same people getting those projects, that's going to dramatically impact your career trajectory, whether it is your promotion, whether it's your pay, whether it's the attitude about people, about you internally in a company, and so it's really important. And for advancement, be transparent. Because women want to be promoted just as much as their counterparts, but they're going to put themselves up for a promotion at a slower rate than their male counterparts. This is just the way the data shows. Certainly, some men and some women are going to be different. Run internal analysis against not only promotion rate, but pay. That's a great way to close the wage gap. And then think about leadership programs. So Women Who Code's leadership program that I described earlier, where we have women all over the world, this is something that we also work with companies. And we began testing this out and saw that women were receiving promotions at a much higher rate when they participated in this program than they were without. So it's your time. How many of you want to do your own startup or join a really, really early stage startup? Okay, this part's for you guys. All of you can look around your world and your experiences and find the big problem that you want to solve. It's going to take bravery. You need to be persistent because it's going to take a lot of time that people don't believe in you. It doesn't happen overnight. So you have to believe in yourself. And be competitive with yourself because you want to reach your own potential. You want to exceed what you think you can reach yourself. And while you need to do competitive analysis, don't pay attention to what the competition's doing because you need to be forward-thinking. You need to think beyond that. And build your network, coming to Codemotion, to local events, meeting people, talking to the people in this room because they're here and they're your network. And have a plan because you need to talk to people about what that is, but you're running a startup, so you're going to need to change the hell out of that plan. And most importantly, perhaps, is to be a good person because this world is getting a lot smaller and the tech industry is a small place and people know. And so be a good person. One of the things that I think is pretty unique to the Bay Area, and this isn't about being a good person, but it's slightly off topic, is we do equity. Most startups will give equity to everyone on the team as they're working there, past a year. And this is something that's pretty unique. It doesn't even exist in all parts of the United States or Europe or Asia or Latin America. And this is an amazing generator of wealth, because when startups do hit big, everybody receives reward from that. And then those people go on to start their own startups. They go on to become investors. And so it's a really interesting and strong way to grow that innovation and build that startup community. And don't give up. Don't run out of money. Be very conservative. When you raise that round, be conservative with your money. And if there's something out there that you want, just get it. I kind of learned this when I became a consultant for a few years as I was transitioning into the tech industry. I remember after doing that, I was working at a company, and there was a guy who was much senior to me, and I had gotten a stand-up desk. We both gotten stand-up desks, and it was great. But I kind of was a little lazy. I wanted a stool. And so I went on Amazon, and I just bought myself a stool. And this guy who was way senior to me was jealous. He was like, well, how did you get that stool? I was like, I made it happen. I went on Amazon. It was like $30. But back to something bigger. If it doesn't exist, go out and create it. You're software engineers. You have that ability. Thank you. Okay, we have 10 minutes. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Hi, I'm a co-founder of a startup and CTO. Are you helping people in practice to recruit as well? How many use women who code and you help them to?
So Women Who Code is, it's not a recruiting firm. We do have a job board, and we do partner with companies to help them in very authentic ways to connect with engineers and hire them. Engineers, for some reason, hate recruiters. So we are very protective of our community and help to guide companies to do things in very authentic ways. And that goes back to something I didn't mention, but it was on one of my slides, is have a conversation with software engineers versus an interview, where an interview has this perception of being a high-stress situation. So we put you in situations where we're either highlighting your organization as a technology organization, or a woman on your engineering team who loves working there, because then other people say, oh, this engineer loves working there, I would like to work there too. Or put you in a position to just have a conversation with someone, and you say, wow, she's really smart. Would you come in and talk to my team? And so yes, we do, but not in a recruiting function. Any other questions? Yes?
Regarding technical interviews,
Mm-hmm.
I think most interviews happen in a way that causes a lot of stress for the interviewees,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of technical questions, pair programming and stuff like that. Probably this makes women be in a worse position than men for such interviews. So what would be a proper process?
Yeah, so there's a lot of organizations that are popping up now, like TripleByte, that'll do coding tests ahead of interviews. So when you're in an interview, you're already in an extremely stressful situation, because you're putting all of your experience and yourself and your knowledge and your intelligence and your personality out and saying, do you like me enough? Am I good enough to hire? And so that's an emotionally very difficult process. And so, turning it in the initial process, are you smart, culture fit, into a conversation, finding out where your bottleneck is. So if it's specifically with women and it's that technical interview process, like why is this happening? Do people not know what to expect going into it? I've had our members tell us during whiteboarding where, maybe you have just one, maybe you have three. guy is sitting there interviewing you, and you have to sit there on a whiteboard facing the other direction, is another layer of being uncomfortable. So, why not have the coding, be in a different room? You don't even know who it is. It might be that someone's accent is going to make them less likely to get a job. It might be that their skin color, or that their body size, or that their gender is going to slightly make them less likely to get a job within an organization. If you can remove that for as long as possible, so people start to form their opinion of the quality of that person's skills before then. So yes, I say, get rid of whiteboarding interviews. Do the interview in front of a computer if possible. Do it in separate rooms. Don't tell people which university they went to. Don't tell people, what their last name is. All of these things that can just slightly bias interviewers to it. I mean, at some point you will see who the person is, and there's a level of culture fit with any company, but if you can have a strong positive feeling and then you're like, oh, this person's different from me, it can still feel good and you can be excited about that difference. And diverse teams are smarter. And so while you overcome biases to get to that point, it's a little bit harder, the teams are actually better. Any last questions? One last question? Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for having me here.